fight against Caldwell leading the card?
We decided to have that fight first to start out with a big fight, big bang, and in Japan it'll air live, and so it'll be on DAZN there. We thought that the investment came out with the blocks going to be very strong.
What do you think it means if Horiguchi does win this fight to be a cross-promotion champion? The whole champ thing is like the trend now. You'd be doing it in same weight class, 2 promotions.
Yeah, well, you know what? Listen, I wish both fighters good luck. But, I told DC you better win that fight Friday night. But no, in a serious note, it's like these fights don't happen when the champ's fighting another champ in a real legitimate league like Bellator and Rising. So it's very rare this opportunity happens. So if he wins, hey, congratulations. I mean, he proved that he is, one of the greatest fighters in his weight class. And it's no easy task because when DC went to Japan on New Year's Eve, he had a hard time in the ring, and Horiguchi was able to get out and throw some heavy blows. He's fast, he's explosive, he hits hard. DC has his hands full. But I have confidence in my guy that we can get it done. Otherwise, we might not have been here with this fight tonight. So, he has a lot on his plate, but he's got to get it done.
Does it make it a little more fun for you as a promoter? Like, Saki Barrow's up here, he said he guarantees for
he guarantees.
Yeah. And you're saying, obviously, you root for your guy, but does it make it a little more interesting than, just having to be indifferent and give a certain answer that's kind of down the middle?
It's, listen, I want my guy to win, right? And I think he can win. Horiguchi's a tough fighter. And Saki Guevara, I'm sure, is really pulling for him because then he's have bragging rights, right? But I feel like my guy can get it done, and it's gonna be an interesting fight on Friday night. And I'm glad we're starting off with a bang because that's a big fight coming right out of the blocks, and it's gonna be a fun fight to start the night.
Is it just bragging rights on the line, or is there any little side bets?
Oh, little side bets? The night's not over yet, so we'll see.
Would you guarantee for DC?
What's that now?
Would you guarantee for DC that he's going to win?
Oh, I think he's going to win.
He's going to win, no? That's a guarantee?
Yeah, that's a guarantee. I mean, he's going to guarantee it. I'm going to guarantee. Everybody's going to guarantee it. But I think my guy can do it. I think my guy's talented. He's going to feel very comfortable in that cage. This is where he fights his fights. I think that Horiguchi's been fighting in the ring for a long time. And the things that happen in Japan, he's not going to be able to get away with here. And I'm talking about just, sliding, basically slipping out from, the clinch. And if he gets stuck in a corner, he's not going to be able to get out this time.
Maybe it doesn't apply completely to this fight because Horiguchi has had a lot of experience fighting in a cage with the circular cage this time. But what's more difficult, do you think, for a fighter to adapt to? Someone who's used to the cage going to the ring or someone who's used to the ring?
Well, I think, listen, Horiguchi's had fights, in the cage before, but it's been how long? It's been a couple of years, right? So, he's training most of the time to fight in the ring. And it's a much different experience. I saw DC have a really hard time in the ring in Japan. Harder than I thought he would. But I don't want to take anything away from Horiguchi. He's a great fighter. He's been following his career for a long time. But I think that this is going to go our way.
Bellator have been moving strong into kind of neglected markets like Europe, Hawaii, and Japan. Is there anywhere else you're looking at that you're looking to either cross-promote or to really push the Bellator brand?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're not afraid to, collaborate, co-promote, fight each other. It's really, doors open. If it makes sense, we'll do it. If it doesn't make sense, we won't do it. But this is something that made a lot of sense. And going to Japan and watching that first fight, it was motivating for me. And the deal was that if DC didn't win, that Saki Guevara would send Horiguchi here, which he has, so he's honored his word. And when you deal with another promoter, you have to have a certain amount of trust in them delivering what they say they're going to deliver. And Saki Guevara has done that. So I'm very thankful to him and Horiguchi for coming here and fighting. As far as outside markets, Hawaii was a big market for us. You guys know we're doing the European series. We're going to start doing fights in different countries in Europe. And that will just lead to different types of localization of events, which means basically, when we go to Latin America, I think we'll be starting a localized series in Latin America soon, as well as, some maybe different parts of Europe or Asia.
Do you foresee doing a Bellator versus Ryzen full card, just to take your best fighters and to put up against Ryzen's best fighters on just one card?
Listen, we would welcome that, and but if we do it, and we do it there, then they would have to come back and do it here because, like I said, it's a different experience to fight in the ring, and I think you get out of a lot of situations having a ring compared to the cage, where you could get stuck in a position. So we'd have to have it both ways. So, you know, there's been dialogue. There's nothing, you know, imminent, but these things take time, and at least we can have this fight and enjoy it on Friday night.
The historical significance of this event, with two organizations coming together to put on this mega card on Friday night. When we look back on this event, 20 years from now, what's going to be the significance? What do you think the significance of this event historically will be when we look back on Bellator 222?
Yeah, I mean, guys, this is a big deal. This doesn't happen, and you know, when my guy wins, it's going to be a big deal. So, you know, we're all going to celebrate, except for Shinoda over here. No, but seriously, it's a big deal in the sense that, you know, organizations don't do that. Sometimes they don't want to put the champ, but you know, we're going to get it on. So. DC is excited, and this is something when we had the opportunity to fight Horiguchi, we went to DC and said, hey, there's opportunity in Japan, do you want to fight? And he wanted to fight. And actually, a lot of our guys would love to fight in Japan. I'm sure that Ryzen has a lot of fighters that would love to fight in Madison Square Garden. So, you know, we're going to provide an opportunity to go back and forth. It's not going to be our core business. Our core business is Bellator. Their core business is Ryzen. But from time to time, let's get it on, man. This is going to be a fun night.
Scott, they were under the impression at least they would like to see Horiguchi, if he wins, continue to defend both belts. Is that something?
Yeah, that's part of the deal. And the deal we made with Sakibara-san was if Horiguchi wins, then once a year he'll come and defend his belt. And it'll give us time to, you know, figure out who's going to fight who and work their way to maybe, you know, defending or fighting Horiguchi in the future. But that's not going to happen, so we're going to be fine.
Is Juan Archuleta said in his new contract, if he wins this fight, he's guaranteed the title fight. Can you confirm that?
You know what? I'm not sure if that's in the contract or not. I better go back and read that because that's the first I've heard of that. But you know, Juan is a guy that's won how many fights in a row, and he's a seasoned veteran, and he's had some tough fights, and this is no easy task for him. So Dantas is a tough kid, and if he wins the fight, he should get a tough fight.
If Caldwell does win, is it possible for a rubber match where maybe both titles are on the line?
I think that we'll have to change, like have a neutral rule, neutral cage or a ring or half and half or something that
Just on a mat. Just on a mat.
Yeah, do it on the mat. So we'll have to figure that out because if he goes back to the ring, you know, then you know one side's gonna have the advantage. If you go to the cage, I think somebody else, then we have the advantage. So that's going to be interesting how the rubber match happens. But I'm not opposed to figuring something out.
So earlier today, our own Cole Sheldon reached out to John Fitch, who said that he was told that be ready to fight this Friday in case Rory McDonald can't make it. Rory McDonald says that he's healthy. What's going on there, and why did he specifically mention McDonald and not Newman Grace?
Are you talking about Sheldon today?
John Fitch.
John Fitch. So John Fitch said that. Okay. So here is what the situation with John Fitch was. I think John's going to come to New York, and he will be here in case there was an injury to either side. So we wanted to have a backup for either side of the bracket, just in case there was an injury. So, for instance, if Neiman was hurt, it would be Fitch against Rory again. Or if Rory was hurt, then we'd have a backup because we didn't want the tournament to have a hiccup where there was no fight. So we brought in, we basically worked something out with Fitch to continue to train, continue to, to be ready, and basically, work something out with him to be a standby in case one of the fighters got hurt.
Can you talk about the decision?
All the way from top to bottom. Something, I mean, a lot of times you have regional fighters in prelims, now we have big names. Something we should expect going forward?
Well, I think that I always love going to a city or a town and really checking out the local talent because we found some really diamonds in the rough in the past in some of these cities. But this fight, it's a big event. We've had a lot of, fighters with a contract that are fighting. On Friday night. So it could go one way or the other depending on what city or what town it is. It just happened to work out this way, where there's so much talent here that we had all these fighters under contract. So we're going to fight them because it's their time to fight.
Shaylin said earlier that when he finishes his fighting career, he'd be looking to move into promotion with Bellator. Is that something you and him have discussed?
So now I'll have two partners. I'll have Dylan Dennis and I'll have Charles Sonnet. So, well, you know what? Listen, he's been a great asset to the team, and you know, anytime Chael wants to have a conversation about something, we can definitely have that conversation. But just tell him to get his checkbook out.
Can you talk about the decision behind making Rory and Neiman the main event of this card?
Yeah, you know what? As we got closer to the fight, and you know, when we announced the fight card, you know, we didn't know who the fight was going to be, and we wanted to announce the fight between Machida and Chael and Heather, and I don't even think we had just signed the opponent for Heather, so it was kind of a situation where we came out, we had announced the fights, and then as the fight card started developing, you know, we said we think this makes the most sense, you know, and we made the decision, and that's I feel good about it.
If Fitch has to step up, would that still be the main event?
Yeah, it's whoever is gonna be that welterweight tournament fight will be the main event.
Would Bellator be looking to do cross promotion deals with other companies outside of Ryzen?
Listen, it's like I said, you know, Saki Bar and I have worked together for, I want to say, since 2006, and I don't know if you guys know the history, but you know, it's when I was just started Strikeforce, we had our second fight, and we didn't have a main event. So through my relations at K1, they tracked down Saki Bar and asked him to help us, and he did. He sent over Victor Belfort to fight Alistair Overeem, which he had both under contract at the time, and when Strikeforce grew up a little bit, we sent over Josh Thompson, Gilbert Melendez, and then we had this great relationship. They sent over Kyle Jury, they sent over Aoki, and then you know, now that he's rebuilding his business, and we have a lot of guys under contract, we're able to help him out as well. So this has been a 13-year relationship where you know, he's helped us in the past. I'm inclined to help him, and there's a certain amount of trust between the promoters, and I think that's really important.
Any fighters from Ryzen that you would like to, other fighters that you would like to bring over to Bellator, or vice versa, send over to Ryzen?
I tell you what, there was a fighter that fought King Mo a couple of weeks ago, or couple months ago. Yeah, I'd love to have him come over and fight one of our guys, you know, and check it out.
Speaking of King Mo, he retired from MMA. Can you just discuss a little bit what he's meant to this company?
Not just this company, but to me personally, it's you know, that's a guy that really is a class act and has done so much for, you know, Strikeforce and for Bellator and for himself too. But you know, he's been such a great team member, you know, for us, and he's, you know, there's a certain part of me that I just really feel like, you know, he's you know, part of the family. So you know, we'll see. We'll maybe try to work something out with him where, you know, we could have him go do some seminars for Bellator, or you know, do some wrestling clinics, that sort of thing. But we're definitely going to include him in our future plans. I just haven't had a chance to sit down and talk to him. I did call him when he retired, and it was a touching conversation. And I think that you know, his future will be still with Bellator.
Yeah, and he talked about how he doesn't want to hurt people anymore. That's one of the big reasons why he doesn't feel compelled to do this anymore. It's similar to what Rory McDonald kind of said after the last fight. What do you make of just when fighters kind of turn that corner and they maybe have a certain internal realization about the sport?
You know, that's an interesting question, because when a fighter reaches that realization and it's time to retire. You know, because not only are you, you know, striking someone's striking you, and you're in harm's way as well. So it's time to let it go, and let the young guys fight.
Is the winner of the Machida Chael fight going to be fighting Bader in his 205 title defense?
Ryan Bader will be fighting at heavyweight first, and he will be fighting Chuck Congo.
Do you know
sometime? I do, but I can't tell you. So. We'll have something to announce soon. Maybe late summer. Let's just put it that way.
You know, to bring up your other double champ, Patricio Pitbull, he's still, you know, poking at Michael Chandler every time he gets on social media, telling him, I knocked you out, this and that. Do you have any idea what you want to do with him next?
Well, as you guys know, we're starting our featherweight tournament, and we're going to invite him. Hopefully he'll want to come in. It's a big prize money at the tournament. It'll be a 16-man tournament starting sometime in September. And I think that he'll end up in the tournament and fighting at 145. So him fighting Chandler is probably not in the horizon anytime soon. You know, but we'll have other fighters for Michael to fight.
Do you have an idea like how you're going to do the draw for that 16-man tournament, or how, you know, when we'll hear who's all going to be in it?
We actually have a really good plan, and we'll unveil it at some point.
Sky.
Friday?
Friday?
Maybe not that soon.
Right now?
Scott, you've already proven that you're willing to put your champions against other organization champions, specifically Darren Caldwell. There's another champion in his weight class, Henry Cejudo, who called him out by name this week.
Oh, really?
Any chance? I mean, I know it's not a
Hey,
miracle.
listen.
You pick up the phone and call up Dana and say, "Let's do it."
Listen, you know, it's not their business model to do that, but if they want to get it on, then let's do it. We will not be opposed to that.
Follow-up question. You love to bring in the biggest stars, the biggest names, the best fighters. Chris Cyborg mentioned this week she only has one fight left in UFC. She's willing to test free agency. That's a huge name. Is that someone you want to bring in?
Listen, I mean, if you're a free agent, give us a call, right? I mean, this is a Viacom-backed company, and you know we will take care of the fighters that move the needle for us. So, you know, if she's free one day, please, you know, give us a call.
Just to follow up on that question, I just want to be clear. You're open to UFC versus Bellator?
Absolutely. I mean, come on, we got some killers in this league, so if they want to get it on, let's do it.
Nice.
What were the conversations like with Rory after his fight with Fitch? I know he said he didn't want to hurt people anymore. Was it tough to convince him to try to fight against Gracie heading into Friday?
You know, and you could probably ask him this directly, but my conversation with Rory the following Wednesday after the fight, he was back to fight mode and getting, you know, ready to get back into the gear. And I think that, you know, it's a certain amount of emotion and just raw, you know, your spirit's exposed when you get taken to the deep waters like he did against John Fitch. I mean, John Fitch pushed him and pushed him and pushed him, and I think Rory was just done, just spent. And I've seen it in boxing before where, you know, fighters are exposed, not exposed, but they're just, you know, they've been into that deep well and back, and it's, you know, it's an emotional experience for him, and I think that's what happened to Rory. He was speaking from the heart, and you know, he was depleted physically, emotionally, spiritually, but by the following Wednesday, he was ready to go. So I talked to him a couple times since then, and listen, he's all about fighting, and he wants to win the belt, he wants to win the prize money, and that's why he's here.
Following on that question, you did talk to personally that he won't be retiring after this tournament. That's what it indicates.
Listen, that's going to be something up to him. I have no idea. I never asked him that question. Yeah, I just thought, are you ready? You want to continue? Because if you don't, we're going to put somebody else in, you know. And it was really up to him, but he said, no, I want to do it, and, you know, that's why he's here.
Yeah, he did stated that he's going to continue.
Okay.
There's a lot of crossover appeal between professional wrestling and MMA. How do you feel the progression of Jake Hager has been in his transition to Bellator? He's undefeated, obviously, but you know, formerly the WWE champion, Jack Swagger, now Jake Hager. How do you feel he's done so far?
Listen, I think he's done great. I mean, you know, you put him in a situation where, you know, he has to fight in a cage, and it's a real fight.
Right.
Somebody's trying to punch you, somebody's trying to, and you take him down, and you know, you do your submit. I mean, I think he submitted his last two opponents. I mean, that's a guy that's gone to school and really said, okay, I'm going to really try to learn MMA. And I respect that. You know, I respect the fighters that if they have a great ground game, they learn how to strike. If they're a great striker, they learn how to do the ground game and or wrestling. Like, you know, it's like really, I feel like it's their job as an athlete to continue to try to improve, you know, different aspects or different aspects of their game to become a complete MMA fighter. And so I think that's a situation. What I saw was a guy that wants to become a great MMA fighter, and it's going to take time. I mean, a lot of people give him a hard time, but I'm like, God, this guy's had, you know, one fight for his last fight. You know, he has a lot of light on him because of who he is. But you know, I'd say, hey, give the kid a break and let him develop, and then we'll see. Talk to me after he's had 10 fights, and then we'll have a real conversation.
Thank you.
Scott, if Chris Cyborg does call you and tell you she's interested in fighting in Bellator, do you have anybody in mind who she should fight?
Well, I don't even want to go there because she's under contract right now, and she fights for UFC, and I think she's got a fight scheduled, and like I said, when she's a free agent, we'll have a conversation.
Raymond Daniels has just joined the organisation as well, and Richard Kiley has called him out. Is it possible we might see that on the Dublin card in September?
Oh, you know, it's maybe. You know, I mean, Raymond's not afraid to fight anybody, and you know, I think that he had one of the most spectacular knockouts I've ever seen. You know, and I think 40 million people watched that clip and saw, you know, the amount of athleticism he has. So, you know, we'll see. But we haven't matched him up yet. I think he's getting married, or he's got some other thing. I think he's getting married, and then we'll talk to him to fight in the fall.
You didn't organise that matchup?
I mean, listen, we could offer it to him, you know, and you know, but we have not offered it to him.
I think that's what.
What about what do you see Dylan Dance doing after this fight? Presuming he was do you think he'll go settle on a weight class, or you can give him a higher ranked opponent? What do you foresee?
Yeah, I mean, to me, he should fight opponents that are, you know, better and better, and you know, tougher and tougher, because that's how he's going to progress. So, you know, let's see what happens, and then we'll take it from there. But you know, he's another guy. A lot of heat on him, a lot of light shining on him, but he's only had a couple fights, you know, or one fight or two fights. So it's, you know, he's just beginning his MMA career, and I just think, you know, a lot of people give him a hard time, but you know, it's he really is just starting his journey in this fight business.
Because on the opposite side, that Aaron Pico was fighting tough people as soon as he got into Bellator.
Yep.
And it sounds like a lot. That was Pico's choosing as well, because he didn't want to come in easy.
Yeah, that was the management, and you know, it was a whole different set of circumstances and scenario. But you know, Dylan has a different set of circumstances. So everybody's, you know, got a different journey. But you know, Pico has an opportunity, you know, on Friday night to redeem himself from his last fight, and then he'll continue on his journey and move forward. But with you know, with Dylan, I mean, even to this day, I think he's only got 1 or 2 fights. So it's really, I'm not saying it's a beginner, but you know, in MMA, you could be a great jiu-jitsu guy, but it doesn't mean, you know, you're going to be a great MMA fighter. He's got to self-prove that. I think
hard not to pull for your business partner though. I mean,
you know, that's top secret there, John.
Great, thanks guys.
Thank you, sir.